Welcome to War Table. My name's Jay. This is my third part of my HotTruck series. I'm going to be showing how I do my rust effects on the edges of my vehicles. I like to do mine using typhus, corrosion, and riser rust. If you guys have another way you like to do it, why don't you put it in the comments and let me know. I'm also going to show how I use a few other colors to add to this effect. Alright, now to show some of the pieces I'll be finishing up. This is the grill. I've left this separate, just a lot easier to paint something like this separate. I also left this guy separate. He's just going to be standing in the back of the truck shooting the missile, you know. So he looks pretty cool actually. For a printed miniature, I really like this miniature. It's turning out really good. This guy here is going to be hanging on the rooftop throwing grenades, holding on for dear life, so that's going to look neat. And then last but not least is this fella here. Now this is the grenade rack that goes on the roof that they're grabbing their grenades from. Also, what happened was I snapped one of these guys on accident when I was trying to get him off of something, and so I had to print another one. That's what the short video is about that I did, of painting this guy up real fast, just trying to get him back to kind of close to where I had him so that I could finish this HotTruck. But yeah, I ended up printing it with the Anycubic, some Anycubic resin that's 2.0, and it definitely seemed a little tougher, and it's a little more springy, so it won't snap so easy, so hopefully his little arms won't break off or anything like that. This piece just kind of slides up here on the front like so, and as you can see, he's holding, well, he's not really holding on, he's strapped in, so if they hit anything it's going to explode. That's what I like about the Orkz. There's always such cool little storytelling going on in the models sometimes. And this is a model actually that I got off of my mini factory, and I mean, talk about a great model for 10 bucks, and then you can print it as many times as you want. I mean, all the parts you get that you could use for other things, just the tires even, and I don't know, it's a lot of value in this set for 10 bucks, I believe. So that's from 8-Legged Miniatures. He's got a couple miniatures I bought now that I really like that are on my mini factory, and I painted one of the other ones too in another video, so I'll try to link that video. But yeah, this is a pretty cool mini so far. I mean, for what it is and what I spent on it, I mean, something like this, you could get one of these through GW or something like this for like, you know, $50-$60, or you could print up 6 of them after you spend 10. And yeah, you're going to spend a little money on resin, but it ain't going to be nearly as much as you spent on those miniatures. So I think it's a good deal overall. Alright, so now with the typhus corrosion here, you just want to kind of stipple this on. At least that's how I usually do it. I'll just get a brush, an old brush. You don't want to use a nice brush. You definitely want an old crappy brush that's got the bristles all frayed out on it and everything, because this stuff has pieces of grit in it, this paint, and that paint will get up into the handle of your brush and it'll start ruining your bristles and spreading them out. So you almost want to keep one brush just for doing this, and then you just kind of stipple it on there in spots and let her dry. And it'll take a sec to dry, and when it dries, it's going to dry with those little pieces of debris and stuff that is in that paint. It's going to dry on there, and then you're going to have a little bit of texture. And with that little bit of texture, you can take a dry brush with some riser rust and then go over that lightly, and it'll bring out that texture and give it a little bit of a reddish tinge. And that little bit of a reddish tinge will give it the rusty look you're looking for. Alright, now here's the riser rust. Now I'm using an old dry brush, and yes, you get the paint off as much as possible. You want it to mostly be dry, just like it sounds, dry brush. So you just go over the areas where you'd want it to be the heaviest first, because it's going to be heavier on the brush then, and then that'll get a little bit of it off, and then you can go on the lighter areas as you remove paint from the brush. So now we're going to the next one. I usually try to hit the edges first and then go to the little flatter areas, because the edges would be a little heavier and the flat areas would probably be a little lighter. So and that's just a general rule I go by when I'm doing this kind of thing. Now, the other thing you can do is go into it with other colors after you're done. Now, some colors you could use is maybe a little bit of Nuln Oil or something like that. I did with this, at least on the tires, to darken up certain spots and lighten others. Just honestly, I did it more for anything, just to take a little bit of that. The tires were just a little bit too shiny. I didn't think Ork tires would be that shiny, especially the rims there. They'd probably be pretty dirty and nasty. So I wanted to put a little bit more. Also, you could throw a little Agrex Earth shade into this mix to help blend it in a little bit and just get everything looking good. The other thing I used, this is the Nuln Oil, and just put this on the cracks and crevices around the tire to kind of help bring out the darkness in the edges there. It's just a little too, again, not enough contrast. A little more contrast there to make that look a little better. The other thing I'll do is use some Runefang Steel, which is a very light steel color from Games Workshop, but it's really good for doing highlights and just putting a little bit of, metal, like the metal got scraped off or is showing through look. And that's what I'm going to use that for when I go to do that part of this. And again, if you guys have any ways of doing this that you like better, or that you think would work better or look better, let me know, because I always like learning new things. That's half the reason I'm doing this, is to help me improve as a artist and miniature painter. By doing this stuff, it's helping me improve, and I've gotten so much out of watching YouTube videos on how to do this stuff. I've learned so much over the last couple of years, and I'm just trying to give back a little bit to this community, because I have learned a lot from them, and I'm still learning, and that's how it goes. You're always going to be learning. So I encourage you to try new things and new techniques, and don't be afraid. Especially, you can always paint over something if it don't look right. You can change it. I know one of the big game changers for me has been being able to print miniatures, so that I can just try out some new techniques that maybe I wouldn't have wanted to try on an expensive miniature. So I highly encourage people to do that too. Also, I'm an affiliate of Amazon now, so I do make a small commission on anybody who clicks on any of my Amazon affiliate links. I might get a little money through that, and it's the best way to support the channel. Also, like and subscribe if you can. That's the free way to support the channel, and it really does help, and it'll hopefully make it to one day where I can just hammer these videos out constantly. Right now I work a 40-hour-a-week job, so it's a little tough to do that, but I'm trying to do as many as I can. Now this is a little bit of the silver here I'm using to just give it that little bit of an extra realistic look that some of the paint and everything's got completely stripped off of the frame, and it's showing through. This is also something that could be used across different armies, or different models. It's definitely not just to this one here, because all kinds of vehicles in this game, especially grimdark vehicles that are all dirty and been in wars for centuries and things like that. So it's pretty cool. You definitely want to try to maybe learn a technique like this. It will help you add a little realism to your miniatures. Alright, so I also did a little bit of this to the front, And I also wanted to show how I did some of my lighting. With this, I usually use Everland Sunset to start, and then I'll just work some lighter shades of yellow onto the lights in between where they're supposed to be there. And then just slowly work some silver or, you know, a bolt gun metal, or there's a lot of different ones you can use, but some type of metal over the edge of those frames of the lights and start bringing those out. And that'll, you know, you gotta probably do a few coats of those to start bringing that out. But that's usually how I do lights, and then maybe I'll put a little bit of a white highlight in at the end. Now I was just putting a little bit of metal on the edges of these where I'd already done the weathering, because these things would probably hit stuff and scrape against it, so it would definitely pull it down to the bare metal. And I'm hitting some of those with just to give it a little extra highlight and glint, which should look cool. It's looking good so far. I'm liking it. I think I'm going to save the grand reveal for a short video that'll point to this one once it's all done. Also, let me know if you guys want to see anything in particular. You know, if there's something like a piece of terrain you're wondering how maybe you could make scratch or with a printer for free, you know, something like that, or, you know, a particular model you'd want to see painted, let me know and I'll try to make it happen. Okay, so I appreciate it again. Please like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.